let me say something that might sound a little bit uncomfortable for a second. For a lot of people with long-term GI problems, trying harder is exactly what makes things worse. Not because you're doing the wrong things, but because your body is no longer responding to certain efforts in the same way that it used to. Hi friend, I'm Danielle, and I explain exactly why basic advice stops working after that beginner stage and how to understand what is going on so then things don't get any worse. Which brings me to my first point. More control causes more distress. Early on, trying to control everything felt like the most responsible decision that you could make. You might have found yourself doing things like tracking every ingredient, eliminating more and more foods from your diet, tightening up your eating windows, and maybe even obsessing over your portion size or following the best practices to make the situation better for yourself. And at first, that level of control helped, but now it's not really working for you anymore. So let me try to paint you a picture here. So let's take Jill. Jill prepares herself a safe meal. But the entire time that she's eating, she's starting to think to herself, oh my gosh, is this gonna make me bloated? Am I gonna have reflux? Am I gonna be vomiting? Am I gonna have nausea? Is this gonna ruin my whole night? Am I even gonna be able to sleep? And then if I can sleep and I get up in the morning and I need to work out and I don't feel good because I have reflux in my throat, then I'm not gonna be able to work out, which means that this will be the 4th day this week that I'm not working out. And because of that, my health is gonna get worse. And oh my gosh, this whole thing is just taking over my life. Does that sound familiar? I bet it does, because I know I was Jill and you might have been Jill too. And the surprise of it all is that Jill encounters some or all of those symptoms after she eats. And interestingly enough, it's primarily because Jill was worried about all of these things and more. And so then the symptoms began and they hit hard. And in this instance, for Jill specifically, it's not even the fact that the food that she ate was wrong. It was simply because her body and her mind were both on edge. Her body went straight into fight or flight mode instead of rest and digest. And all of this was because of the reasonable panic that she was having in her mind. So the point of the matter is, your body is no longer responding to just food inputs anymore. It's also responding to both physiological and also psychological responses as well. Both of these things start to piggyback off of one another left and right, and then it increases the distress in the body, which then turns into worsening symptoms and even pain. When every single meal becomes a test, and then every single symptom feels like a failure, then your body in response is going to stay on high alert. So when you try harder and you restrict more, you're actually adding stress to an already overstimulated system. And then that doesn't end up being discipline. It ends up being overload. So I'm wondering for you guys, if you ever notice that correlation between your thought patterns and your symptoms, because I know for me, I did. I was the queen of that correlation, okay? So mention in the comments below if you have gone through that too. So getting to point number 2, overcorrection keeps the flare-up cycle alive. So here's another scenario that I tend to see with people dealing with gut issues for a long period of time. Symptoms begin to flare up, so then they immediately make some big change, and then that's not working, so then the symptoms flare up again, then they make another big change. So let me make that a little bit more concrete with an example. So let's take Kendra here. She wants to figure out what's going on with her GI issues, so she's going to go ahead and try a lot of different things to see what sticks. So Kendra first cut out fats, and she notices that things are better for like a week, and then the symptoms come back. So then she's like, okay, well that didn't work. Let me go ahead and cut out carbs too. So then she cuts out those carbs and sugars too. Now she feels horrible because she's getting absolutely zero energy. And then she's like, okay, screw all that. I'm going to go ahead and start fasting. I'm going to do a 24-hour fast. I'm only going to eat once a day. So then she does that. And maybe she even sees a little bit of relief there. But then not too long later, her symptoms come back again and she's responsible. So she goes to her doctor. She tells her doctor every single thing that she did. And then the doctor says, okay, well, you know, I had you on this medication, it's not working, let's go ahead and switch you to another medication. Maybe she gets a relief for even a little bit, or she doesn't get any relief at all. So now she's just gotten desperate and she's frustrated. So now she's doom scrolling on Amazon looking for some kind of supplement and solution. So then she buys a whole bunch of supplements, probably a lot of them doing a lot of the same things. And so then she tries all of those. So if you've noticed already, Kendra has fallen into a trap, and it's a really terrible cycle at that, because Kendra never allowed any one thing to demonstrate whether or not it could be effective. Nothing ever stabilized in her GI tract because she's kept on switching from one thing to another within a short period of time. So here's the thing, you can't sit there and stack one fix on top of the other without giving each new approach appropriate time to actually see whether or not it'll work and be effective and actually bring calm to the gut. And you can't find that out in a week. Usually that's something that you have to explore over the course of several months in order to see whether or not something will be effective. And short-term relief can actually interrupt healing if it keeps you bouncing from one fix over to another. One thing that helped me, honestly, was burn blocker. It was actually the first thing where I just tried that by itself, and I was checking out to see if it worked before I went on to the next change. And I actually think that that stability mattered way more than chasing the next solution. And it gave my gut enough calm to actually figure out what was actually working and what wasn't working, and just kind of stabilize everything for me. So if that's something that you're interested in, then the link is in the description. But regardless, my friend, what you need is stability and consistency, not constant change. Point number 3. Is that genuine effort can sometimes turn symptoms into a major threat. So let me tell you what I mean by that. People start getting really rigid with themselves, and they say things to themselves like, I really can't mess this up. I have to get this thing right. And I don't trust my body anymore. And that last statement, not trusting your body anymore, can really cause this huge stronghold on you, and it could really keep you stuck for a real long time. And the reason why it can do that is because it turns symptoms from being simply physical to now also being meaningful in a very detrimental way. And here's why. It's because a small flare no longer feels small anymore. It feels like, here we go again. Oh my gosh, I'm back at square one. I failed myself yet again. And that emotional charge is what makes the symptoms louder, larger, and harder to settle. But here's what I need you to know, is that your body is not actually punishing you, even though it may feel that way. It's reacting to a perceived threat. So that means your body is actually doing exactly what it's designed to do. Think about it. When every single sensation is monitored, interpreted, and feared, the nervous system will always stay involved and digestion will never fully calm down. And that's why trying to force healing can keep you stuck for much longer. So here's the main thing that I want you to leave with here today. If trying harder makes things worse, then the answer isn't more effort. The answer is you need better understanding. Your symptoms aren't failing you, friend. It's that the approach that you're taking, the approach itself, is what needs to change. So that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, then please like it. And if you know anybody who might benefit from this video, also share it with them. And also leave in the comments if there's anything that you would like to see. I want to share more of what you're looking for. And if you enjoyed this video, then I think you might like this next one over here. It's about why gut tips stop working after years of treatment. All right, you guys, see you next time.